When Christians hear that Adam and Eve is a myth, they are sometimes quite disturbed, not because Jesus ever makes the literal existence of Adam and Eve a big component of his own ministry in any of the four Gospels, but rather because of some comments that Paul makes in Romans chapter 5. In Romans chapter 5, Paul sets up a comparison saying, just as sin and death entered the world through one man, Adam, so too does justification and life enter the world through one man, Jesus. So some Christians will infer that without the literal existence of Adam, there's no need for Jesus, and the foundations of Christian faith collapse. But this is false. And I know this is false because in Romans chapter 5, Paul is not referring to Adam literally. How do I know that Paul is not referring to Adam literally? Because Paul is not literally the first person to sin in Genesis chapter 3, is he? So we know for a fact that Paul is taking non-literal liberties with the story in Genesis chapter 3 in order to form this nice, neat, very male comparison that illustrates the scope of sin and the corresponding scope of salvation. So then people might ask, if Adam didn't literally exist, and there was no literal original sin, then where did sin come from? Why do people sin today if not for an inherited ancestral sin from a long time ago? And ironically, Genesis chapter 3 has an answer for this. After all, Adam and Eve did not inherit some previous original sin from some previous distant ancestor, did they? Adam and Eve themselves did not have original sin, did they? Adam and Eve sinned the old-fashioned way. They knew the right thing to do, and they didn't do it. Why do people sin today? For exactly the same reason. They knew the right thing to do, and they didn't do it. Ironically, the story in Genesis chapter 3 of Adam and Eve's sin is a perfect explanation for why you don't need a doctrine of original sin in order to account for the existence of sin in the world. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.